Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dominions 4 Mod and Map Showcase. Today, the mod I'm going to be showcasing is Svarogia, the Dark Forests, by Executor. And the map, which you can see in front of me, is Fantomagoria by Fantomen. So as traditional, let's look at the map first. The map has a very beautiful and dark feel about it, which made it a very good choice for me to showcase this mod on because it's a very dark mod. The Dark Forests, to be exact. But it's just, I like how the water of the ocean has kind of the swirling, I'm not sure if it's just eddying currents or if it's cloud cover, although it's not over the land, so it must be something having to do specifically with the water. There's like a creature, giant squid kind of hidden there, which is really awesome. You've got snow-capped mountains, forests, fields. It just has this kind of, I don't know, old world feel to it. You've got these little rundown shanty towns here with their kind of muted gray color palette. The whole thing just is really well put together, and I would love to actually play on this map, though it's a little too big for the kind of games that I normally play. Still, it's a great achievement, and it appears as though it was made using a tile set, so I hope that Fantomen decides to put out a number of maps in this style of varying sizes. So if you agree with me on that, certainly go to the map thread, which I will put a link to in the description of this video, along with the link to the mod thread, and let Fantomen know that you would like to see more maps in this style, because I certainly would. Alright, now moving on to the mod, Svarogia, the Dark Forests. Let's see, statistics, there we go. Alright, Svarogia is a shadowed forest realm in which treacherous demonic spirits roam the wild freely, sometimes helping and guiding the people of Svarogia, and sometimes punishing and killing them, according to their whim. In this cold and unforgiving land, the weak and incautious are preyed upon or succumb to the dangers of the wild, leaving only the strongest and most resilient. Armor of quality comparable to that of most other nations is rare. Consequently, the Svarogians are a hardened people, tougher and stronger than most in the countryside. Soldiers skilled in stealth warfare band together as Hajduk mercenaries, rebels, or bandits. With the coming of the Ascendant God, the people of Svarogia have banded together under the guidance of the demonic spirits to conquer the world. So as you can already see, it is a very dark nation, not very much in the way of armor or production, though they do have stealthy troops. And let's take a look at their capital buildings. They start off with Svarogia, the titular Dark Forest, which enables the recruitment of the Ancestral Warrior, a sacred unit. There is the Ancient Grove, which gives you air and nature, and enables the recruitment of the White Vila. Then you have the Dark Forest, which produces 2 death, 1 nature, and enables the recruitment of Vesicas. So, let's look at what we've got here. Our first commander is the Scout Hajduk Commander. He can also lead 40 troops, though, which is unusual for a scout, and he dual wields berserker axes, though he is not a berserker. The Hajduk are, as far as I could tell, stealthy tribesmen versions of the Svarogians, and they generally have low protection, but high attack skill, as you can see here, and 12 hit points. Then you have your Zrek. He is your main priest. Your only priest, I think. Let's see, 1 priest power. He also has forest survival, which I believe so do the Hajduks. And I do believe, yeah, I think he is the only priest you've got. So then you have the village elder, who, as he is old age, I see no purpose in recruiting. The leadership 40, forest survival, but old age. Now, the reason why I see no reason recruiting them is because you can recruit this gentleman anywhere you have a castle, a Nez. He's expensive, but he has 120 leadership, he is not old age, and he's inspirational. So all of the armies that I created in the course of learning about this nation were led by these guys, also forest survival. Then you get to your mages. You start off with the Osenja, who, while a mage, technically, I would prefer to use as an assassin. They have the assassin trait, they're demons, they're stealthy, and they have awe, which is fantastic. They have very low leadership, and they are sacred, though, again, I don't see what purpose you would use them in battle. Perhaps for communion slaves, if you wanted that kind of thing. They do have an enslave mind attack, which again makes them very good as assassins. Stun damage. I haven't actually tried them and seen that attack in action, though I assume it would work as advertised. You've got the Mora next. A Mora is a 1 death with a chance of death, blood, or astral, though a small chance. A demon as well, with forest survival. I truthfully felt that these ladies were the bang for your buck researcher at 9 for 75 gold. Though you've also got the Sujajas, which are 130 gold, so they're a bit more expensive. They do have 9, but they have astral magic, so I guess if you wanted to, you could use them as communion masters. And they're fortune tellers, so they can prevent bad events. Again, forest survival. Then you get to your two slow to recruit mage commanders, of which there is the Vesica. Actually, I'm sorry, they both are capital only and slow to recruit. The Vesica is your go-to blood hunter, 2 death, 2 blood, with an additional chance of 1 astral. Also demon, also forest survival, has a fear attack. Not entirely sure how it works, didn't see it in battle, but it does fear damage. And an area effect of 5. These ladies were my go-to blood hunters when I played with this nation, and I used them to gather the blood slaves necessary to cast the blood summons, the special national blood summons. But really, the champion of this nation is the White Vila. As you can see, she's got a lot going on. She has 2 air, 1 astral, and 2 nature, with the chance of an additional air and nature, 100% chance, and then a 25% chance of an additional air and nature. It's important to note this because 2 of the main national summons, 1 requires 4 air and 1 requires 4 nature. And you can get those paths with just recruiting a lot of these White Vilas. The odds are, not perfect, but eventually it will happen. I think it's 1 out of 8, I think. And you will have those. And I was able to do that. So that's what I did. However, there are 2 paths that you have really powerful summons that you cannot get naturally, which is earth and water. So I put those on my pretender. You can or cannot, I guess, depending on what your strategy is. But let's look at the troops. We start off with the Svarogian Javelinist, a pretty weak javelin unit with forest survival. However, I did enjoy using these guys as kind of a front line. I put them in the front lines, set on skirmish mode, just to draw arrow fire from the rest of my armies. And because they're so cheap to recruit, I just kept them as part of my standing force that I set up all my armies to be very similar with these guys in the front. Then my front lines were the Svarogian Spearmen for the long spear and the repel, also forest survival. Low protection, as you can see, but, well, average. These are about your average guys. A little higher morale, which is great, and a little higher defense and strength, which is great. Also very cheap to recruit. The Axemen I didn't use much, but they do have a throwing axe. Their protection is very low. They're not much better statistically. In fact, they're not better statistically than the Spearmen. Again, I didn't use them much. Swordsmen I used kind of to hang around on the edges. They have a broadsword attack. Their protection is a little higher, but still not great. But their defense skill is fantastic at 15. 12 strength again, 11 hit points, 12 morale for these guys. Of course, I used a ton of these guys. These are the only archer unit you have with a bow. Obviously, we have other units with javelins and throwing axes, but these guys have a bow. And that's the purpose I used them for. I had them in the second line behind the spearmen. Well, I guess you'd call it the third line if you count the skirmishers up front. Then we get to our 2 stealthy units. The Hajduk Raider, who is for survival and stealthy, it has a shield bash, which is a neat skill that I haven't seen in any other mods, and the regular axe attack. They are, as you could see, statistically superior to the regular troops. And then you have the Hajduk Berserkers, which obviously Berserk are also stealthy for survival. And as you can see, have pretty good stats and 2 Berserker axes. So they are the troop version of the Hajduk Commander. What I did when I created my Hajduk forces is I had these guys stand in the front in a line with these guys on the side set to hold and attack rear. Because they don't have a shield, low protection, low defense, You want to make sure they hit hard, but don't get hit themselves, especially by arrows. Finally, you have your Svarogian riders, and when I can afford them, I have these guys on the flanks instead of the swordsmen with my regular armies, not my stealthy armies. They do, of course, like every other cavalry unit, have the hoof, but they have a composite bow. I didn't use it much. I felt that they were much better as physical attackers. But as you can see, their stats are pretty normal. Their defense, of course, is very high. Their protection's a little low. They do have 11 hit points and 12 morale. Then we get to our sacred unit, the Ancestral Warrior. Obviously, their stats are quite good. They have an Ancestral Sword, which does magical damage. And they are naturally reinvigorated, which is kind of cool as well. However, I do not feel that they're worth a bless. Maybe you might disagree and you might find some good use for them. Maybe a water bless will give them quickness and they would be just terrors. But I think they're pretty solid, just an elite unit on their own. So those are the national troops, and I didn't read the descriptions, but of course you could pause the screen at any time and do so. I just kind of let you know how I use them. In fact, I have some armies set up, so let's see if they're still around in their full form. Alright, good. So as I said, I have my... Well, this army particularly doesn't have the javelin men, but I have a front line of the spearmen. I have the swordsmen on the flanks with the bowmen behind them. Like that. And the leader here. In the event of having skirmishers, I would have had them in front here, but that takes away one of my squads, so instead of having 2 flank squads, I would simply have 3 lines. Skirmishers, spearmen, bowmen, and these other guys wouldn't. Maybe I'd have guys on one flank, or maybe I wouldn't have them at all. I'm going to see if I can find a group where I have cavalry flanks. No, these guys have my raiders, though. You could see my berserkers are on the flanks, bowmen in the back, otherwise the same general force. So no cavalry. Okay, well, there you go. But let's talk about the summoned units. So the first thing you're going to be able to summon is a level 2 death summon. Where are you? There you are. The Drekavax. They're interesting in that they are ethereal and stealthy. They are, of course, demons. They have a howl attack, which causes fear damage. And they're pretty cheap. They can be had for 1 death, actually, and at level 2. Then you get down to level 4, you have a Totorak. Now, a Totorak is this. It's a ghostly apparition, but it's not ethereal, of a guy growing out of a horse. They cause fear, they are sacred, they trample, they are demons, and they cause unrest, and they pillage. One thing to note is they are stronger in the springtime. There's flavor text to explain that. It's basically the particular festival where these people are worshipped. It happens during the spring, and as a result, they become a bit more powerful. They're a very cool kind of thematic unit. Next on the chain, we have, well, a whole bunch of people together. We have 4 different villas, the Oblakinja, Vodarkinja, Planinkinja, and the Zakrkinja, and then we have the Allah. And that's as far as I went, because those are the only national units. So let's take a look at those. Here is the Zarkokinja Villa. Now they are the nature Villa, so you get them with 4 nature. They have Awe, Animal Awe, Poison Resistance, Stealthy, Glamour, Demon, Berserker, and like all villas, they are seductresses with a supply. Well, they have a supply bonus because they have nature, and they are a healer. So you'd probably want a lot of these, and it would, again, you can recruit them, or sorry, summon them naturally using your Cloud Villas, who, by the way, also have Seduction, also have Healer, also have Glamour and Stealth. I think it's pretty much an Awe. I think that's pretty much goes through all the different villas, whether you can recruit them or summon them. Then we have the Planinkinja Villas. These are the Earth Villas, and you will not be able to summon these guys unless you plan it with either a Pretender or you empower. But they have invulnerability, which is cool. Other than that, though, they are pretty much the same as the regular Villas, but they do have 4 Earth. So you can spell them up. Might be a good Thug chassis, although low hit points. So maybe, since they're sacred, you can design a Thug Bless around them if you feel like doing so. Then there are the Oblakinja Villas. These are the Air Villas, which you can summon naturally. They have a lightning attack, which is pretty cool. And Unlike the other villas, they can fly. Oh, and they also are ethereal, which is neat. I'm assuming none of the other ones can fly. Well, you certainly can't fly. You're on a bear. No, so they can fly. And then we have the water, the Vodar Kinja villas. They, of course, again, you need to plan for. There's nobody in your nation who can summon them off right. They have regeneration. They are amphibious, which would be good for this map, actually, because one of the things I found was a little frustrating about this map is sometimes there's a bridge on the map that doesn't actually work. You have to be able to cross water. So I took a cold dominion for this nation, which is great. You have to. They prefer it. So I could cross the rivers in the winter. But if you take, like, say, a hot dominion, you're stuck. You are not going anywhere. So having an amphibious unit, like if you start where I start, will be very helpful because it'll allow you to get off your initial island. I definitely think the map could use a few more ports or just areas to move around where you're not constrained by the water. So they are slash, blunt, and pierce resistant, and they can give the gift of water breathing to 30, which I believe means 15 humans, maybe just 10. I forget how much a human needs. But again, like all villas, they are seductresses, though in the flavor text it's kind of funny because unlike the other villas, they don't toy with mortals as much as they outright try to harm them. So they're the most malevolent of the villas. And then, as you go down the research tree, oh wait, and there's also I moved him out because he causes hailstorms apparently, but the Allah. They have storm power, gluttony, it's a demon with glamour, and it flies. It's just a big guy. It could be used as a thug, I'm sure, with 4 air, but they could also be used as an air leader with really good air magic. I didn't use him for anything, but just kind of kept him around because he looked cool. But it says their presence causes devastating storms and hails wherever they go. I'm not sure if that's something keyed in, it causes unrest. It doesn't say it causes unrest, so I'm not sure if that actually plays out in the game at all, but that's what it says. So that's what we got for Conjuration. But now we have some blood summons. So we have the Talisman, the Babica, and the Karakonzula. So, whoops. So the Talisman is basically a vampire thrall. Vampire thrall. It's a flesh-eating ghoul. Now, the game stipulates that they can be auto-generated from vampires, but you can also summon them using that one spell. And they're basically just a mindless kind of frontline units to get killed. There's nothing special about them except they are cold and poison resistant, and they don't have to eat. So if you have a death dominion, don't have a lot of supplies, that might be useful for you. And then you have, where are you? The Babica. The Babica causes fear, is stealthy, also a demon. Population killer, which kind of sucks. You don't want her in your capital, even though that's where I have her. And causes a lot of unrest. Like a lot. I have to have 2 armies patrolling just to kind of take care of that. Then there are the Karakonzulas, which are bear man-pig, man-bear-pig creature. It's a demon of the night, and it has also fear, stealthy, but this one's an assassin. Also causes unrest and has a special weakness attack. No protection to speak of, though, so you might want to give it some armor. Karakonzulas attack men differently. They ride them, stealing their strength and exhausting them to death. The women they sometimes merely harass, but more often maim or kill them. So these are really, really nice guys. And then finally, you have the Vampire, who... The sprite is beautiful, don't get me wrong, but they don't look very tough. But they have 2 death, 2 blood, animal awe, invulnerability, which ties in with slash and blunt resistance, so yeah, whatever. They are immortal, shape changer. Ooh, actually I haven't changed their shape, so can we do that? Let's do that. Yeah, that'll be fun. Alright. Is that a rat? Like a giant rat? Well, that's something different you don't see every day. It's a rat vampire as opposed to a bat vampire. More blood magic, though, which is great. And then we have the Navi, which is the largest blood summon. Has a Devour attack, which is special. Not sure how that works exactly. 2 claws, a lot of fear flying, and it has damage reversal, which is not the same thing as Blood Vengeance, but it's kind of similar. 2 blood. Very tough unit. So those are all the national summons. And then throughout my playing, I was fortunate enough to get a few of the hero units. I had a Vila Ravijolja, which I guess is the most powerful, beautiful, and the most dangerous of the white Vila. As treacherous as she is fair, she loves to rule over the hearts of men. She has 3 air, 3 water, 3 nature. So if you're fortunate enough to get her, you may, with a little bit of item enhancement, be able to summon the water Vilas with her without having to plan your pretender around it. Other than that, though, she's just your typical flying Vila with glamour and all the same benefits that all the other ones get. And fist attack, so that's probably not the best. She doesn't have the lightning attack, I guess, of the air Vilas. And then Mikula, the Kingly Knight. So, cool looking guy, though he didn't do much for me. 2 water, 2 death, 2 nature. So I guess if you didn't get the other hero, you could make him the guy who summons the water Vilas, although you have national troops with better nature and death. He's not high hit point. He is sacred. I wouldn't necessarily use him as a thug chassis, but I guess as a great leader, or just someone to stay at home and be cool with some versatile magic paths. He could do that. So that's that. Svarogia, the Dark Forest. I definitely think this nation is really, really beautiful, just like everything that Executor designs. I couldn't say how it would play, because in order to allow me to summon all these units, I set resources and gold to 200%, and so I was able to field these giant armies, as you can see, and build temples and castles everywhere, which in a real game you probably wouldn't be able to do. I would say that the inexpensiveness of the troops does make a strategy like I pursued with large armies quite viable, and I didn't use any of these in battle, but obviously the Cloud Vilas, and you want to jack up to the special summonable Vilas, you could start causing some serious damage. I mean, they are very powerful in their chosen paths, and as such, especially because this is a Middle Age nation, although I'm not sure it's supposed to be. Executor put all these in the Middle Age, but this might have started off its life as an early age nation. But they're very powerful compared to other Middle Age nation mages. So I highly recommend this mod. I think, again, very beautiful, very fun, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So it's been a while since I did a mod showcase, so by all means, leave a comment and let me know what you think. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good one.